It's time to let it go now. Falls apart. It's time to let it move. I want the best for you. It can't be that hard to love. It can't be that hard to love. It can't be that hard to love. I want simply to be free, loving liberty, following the call. Open up, it's time to let it go now. Falls apart, it's time to let it move. I want the best for you. It can't be that hard.